Hi, I'm Claire Cousins from Clare Cousins Architects, and I'm very pleased to be presenting our Beaumaris house for the Robin Boyd Foundation. We entered our project in this year's Victorian Architecture Awards in the New Houses category. So I will just go and share my screen. Okay. Sited on a corner block, Beaumaris House asserts itself with a confidence yet sensitive response to a somewhat atypical suburban condition. So here we have the site on the corner, very close to Ricketts Point, which is in Melbourne's Bayside suburb of Beaumaris. While it's in a suburban location, you can very much see this, I suppose there's quite a charming unsealed roads that lead down to the water's edge. Immediate neighbours in the vicinity, I suppose a typical kind of suburban setting. There's little engagement with the street, with kind of high fences, and also elevations can be dominated by car parking and garage openings. Here we have the existing site on the corner and a view from within the house, within the property. Providing a home to a young family of 6 required a tactful sensitivity in order to balance ideas of multifunctional use while also addressing our clients' need for privacy. The notion of privacy in this project takes on 2 distinct manifestations. The first is the family's privacy from the street. The second is the innate requirement for privacy of one's own. Whilst our clients stressed that life in a family of 6 was most often about togetherness, the desire to provide each member with distinct moments of sanctuary was also to be explored in the project. The play between connection and independence became a key driver for our Beaumaris house. So here we have some early site analysis diagrams with the existing house, and then also some spatial and programmatic relationship diagrams testing connections to landscape and whatnot. An early diagram, I suppose, a form diagram, when we were exploring, the client was originally looking for a rooftop terrace, which unfortunately didn't go ahead due to the fact that the view that we tested from a cherry picker wasn't didn't really warrant the expense and the effort to go upstairs, which is always why it's good to test these things at the beginning of the project. The corner site was subject to considerable setbacks on all 4 boundaries. Coupled with a predominant east-west axis, the 2 site factors give clear indication as to the project's orientation and formal extent. So here these quite strict side setbacks determined essentially the footprint of the building, given that it was to be a fairly sheer 2-storey proposal. And so here, looking at it from one end during construction, and with the extent of the building's form being largely defined by a combination of setbacks and brief-driven program, a key area of intervention in our project became the building's edges. So the pink indicating these new, I suppose, sculpted or new forms that were to project from the house, contrasting in timber. So these include the crow's nest balcony to the south, the construction photo, the fireplace volume to the living room, and the informal lounge dubbed the boat room to the north, a curved space which projects beyond the building, immersing the occupant in the garden through a kind of Australian take on the garden conservatory. Through a process of eroding the solid mass to respond to environmental conditions of solar control to the north or privacy excuse me, and street protection to the south, the building's thresholds begin to emerge as key transition devices. So here the pink indicates, I suppose, the carving out of the solid mass and replacement with glazing on the ground floor and first floor, and this kind of deep setting of windows to give it a greater sense of, I suppose, solidity and mass to the form. So here on the ground floor, the carving of the colonnade of columns, and then upstairs, the splayed window openings on the first floor. Whilst setbacks informed the built extent of the project, they also promoted moments of civic generosity through street side planting. So here you can see where we had green opportunities to share on our property, on our client's property, but to share back with the street. So while the pool on the left-hand side, or that the area where the pool was to be located, clearly needed a high secure fence for obvious reasons. And similarly in the middle, we created, I suppose, a private courtyard garden off from the kitchen so that that could have large sliding glass doors and windows, but still maintain privacy from the street. We capitalised really on these opportunities to share some of the planted, the garden, I suppose, this broad front garden with the street rather than fencing it off. And so here during construction, you start to see that courtyard garden, which will eventually get greened and covered with creeper. And then as the garden has started to grow, beautiful native garden designed by Eckersley Garden Architecture, who we regularly collaborate with. Also the willingness for car parking to be absorbed within the house's form and materiality so as to minimise its impact to the street. So this was also important to us. I think that there's nothing worse than just sort of having these dominating kind of garage door fronts. So this, using the materiality to really help embed and conceal them as much as possible. Internally, the home's pleasantly unconventional interior challenges the current predilection for open plan living with intentionally segmented spaces for adults and children. So just to step you through the plan, we've got the more everyday kitchen, the living spaces here, dining and living room, and quite intentional, which is probably a little unique these days, is with a distinctly separate kitchen area. And then that's been further, I suppose, separated with the location of these service spaces in the centre, the stairwell, a powder room and a study and a little drop-off area. And then the boat room, so to speak, has got a very strong connection with the kitchen, in that that's the room that's predominantly used often by the 4 young children, and that's its connection to the kitchen. But then just talking through also the modes of, I suppose, entry into the house. We've got the more formal entry from here, and then a second hidden door straight into the kitchen, which I'll show you through. So here at this entry, there's a little seat, but also a cavity sliding screen door to allow it to be closed off, the doors left open to cross-ventilate, but also to avoid, I suppose, young children escapees running onto the road. And here between the two spaces, looking from the living room back through the open front door to that concealed or hidden kitchen door access. Here the connection between the kitchen and the boat room, looking back through the front door, and then these views here with the ability of that pivot door being able to close off and screen off the mess and noise as required. Whilst Beaumaris brief called for a generous family home, it was built according to the fundamentals of passive solar design. Its northward orientation and integrated eaves help ensure long-term efficiency, thermal management and abundant cross-ventilation. Beaumaris House integrates multi-purpose and flexible space, such as the garage, which opens to the garden and provides usable space for parties and play, as well as storage. These areas contribute to its continued functionality in years to come. It is being designed to endure. So here, this is something that we often talk about with clients, is can spaces have more functions than just the original function, in this case being a garage. So the panel doors from the front during construction, showing the doors opening both sides, and then the pivot doors or the tilt doors from the garden side. Here, looking further along to the north-facing garden and these construction shots of the pergola, fireplace and barbecue area, and then as it's been, the garden's grown, and the pool enclosure. So here, looking through from the kitchen through to the lounge, but always this sort of sense of long vistas and windows pulling your eye through the space, always to a kind of garden vista beyond. Recycled brick in a sand-bagged finish and travertine floors reference the natural stratification of the local landscape, local coastal landscape, and enhance the building's monolithic nature. And so here, looking to the stairs, native black cladding on walls, doors and windows give tactile warmth and textural rhythm, and also provide the basis for materially immersive moments in both the stairwell and informal lounge. And so upstairs is where all the bedrooms are located. So we have the main bedroom here on the left, And then separated by the stair and the void, we have the 4 children's bedrooms at the end. And it was quite intentional to locate the corridor on the sunny northern side of the house with much larger open windows, to really encourage that sort of spilling out from the bedrooms into this kind of, I suppose, additional play space in this collection. The children tend to sort of spill out from the bedrooms into that space because it's sunny and bright. And here, looking towards the main bedroom, past the void, and then looking through to the ensuite crow's nest, and then into these bathing spaces. There's a basement below, which has a gym, storeroom, a kind of little theatre, or a large theatre room and cellar. Fitted with 10,000 litre underground water tanks, Beaumaris House enjoys extensive rainwater collection and reuse. The home features double glazing and low energy fittings throughout. Rooftop PV panels for energy production, reclaimed and recycled brick, and robust, easily maintained materials with low embodied energy. Here's your cellar. Despite its monolithic nature, Beaumaris House subtly reveals itself as a sensitive suburban intervention, giving vegetated life back to the streetscape and considered familial sanctuary to those within. Thank you. So I thought I would just finish. I was asked to choose my favourite residential project from this year's awards across the country, and for that I have chosen Taylor and Hines Bosun Cottage. Taylor and Hines are very talented Tasmanian architects located in Hobart, and this project, much like all of their work, is sublime. It's always sensitive, thoughtful, carefully detailed, and really breathes new life into this nearly 200-year-old cottage. So it's a beautiful project. But thank you for having me. Thanks.